Four best crews in the game, I'm in them. If you don't like...
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Opinionated Paul's channel. Now, in this video, I'm going to be addressing the Arsene Wenger issue and Arsenal Football Club. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I sort of had a few requests from people just for them to ask me what my views were, my opinions, how I felt about sort of Arsene Wenger as a whole, as the manager of Arsenal, and sort of where Arsenal are going in the next few years. So, in my opinion, I think Arsene Wenger should absolutely 110% leave Arsenal. I think he should resign in this summer after the season ends. I think Arsenal should start looking elsewhere. Now, the reason for this, because Wenger over the last few years, there's been a pattern. The tactics have been the same. He's been very arrogant, but he's also at the same time been very naive, and that is shown by the fact that Arsenal don't really spend, and they haven't been spending in the summer for a good few years. I mean, yes, we've seen them buy Ozil and Alexis Sanchez, world-class players, and also they bought Petr Cech this season. And a lot of people thought, okay, this is the start of something new for Arsenal. They're going to start spending big, but I think they were the only club in England, in the UK, or I might get this wrong, in the Premier League, who didn't buy an outfield player. And I think that does show where Wenger is starting to go wrong, because over the last few years, Arsenal fans, they were very, very used to, they want to win trophies, but they've won 2 FA Cups in sort of 12 to 14 years. That has been the pattern for Arsenal over the last few years. They've sort of gone for top 4. That's good enough. We're getting to the Champions League consistently, which is a good thing for Arsenal, who have been such a big club, who've been used to winning titles back in the day with Henry, Pires, Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp, and then to go to sort of, they were pushing for the title this season, but it wasn't really that convincing. And I think that it does boil down to Arsene Wenger, because when we watch Arsenal these days, it is very, very similar. They have Giroud up front, who's not a world-class striker. They've had defensive problems, which they've had for years, and they've never really had a CDM like Patrick Vieira. They've tried to replace him with Coquelin, who has been a very good player, but that's only been sort of over the last season. He only came to the side, I think, in January last season, and when they beat City 2-0 away. And that was a great performance. That was arguably Coquelin's best game for Arsenal. But that does come from the manager being naive, or also arrogant at the same time. Because Arsene Wenger, there's always been a reluctance not to spend money, and that does come back to my earlier point that they were sort of one of the only clubs who didn't buy an outfield player. They only bought Petr Cech, which was great because it's a world-class keeper, and he's been superb for Arsenal this season. Bars of the West Ham game when they lost 2-0 at home, and the Crystal Palace game when they drew 1-1. But every keeper, even a world-class keeper, makes a mistake. Over the years, we've seen Wenger. He is naive because he doesn't spend. But there's also this perception that managers have complete control over transfers. But we, as fans, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. We've seen the Arsenal fans on Arsenal Fan TV have a go at Kroenke, have a go at the players, but this season especially, they feel hurt by Arsene Wenger by the fact that he hasn't spent, he hasn't changed his tactics. And I think, as an Arsenal fan, if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be furious. I'd be angry about how the season's gone, because this was their one of the best opportunities they will have to win the league. Arsenal fans feel embarrassed by the fact that Spurs and Leicester are finishing above them. Spurs, their main rivals, who have had a great season, but Arsenal should be ahead. They should be surpassing Spurs, and they've done that every single season. Leicester as well. I mean, Leicester's been an exception, and it's great that they won the league. It's been a fantastic achievement, and we've seen those celebrations over the last couple of days, and they deserve it. But at the end of the day, Arsenal should be winning the league, or them or City at least. As a fan of football, I think a lot of motivation should come from players themselves. And you're representing Arsenal or Man U or Chelsea or Liverpool, and you know that you have a huge fan base, financial backing, you're receiving a lot of wages. You should have that incentive, or that motivation to go the extra mile in a game, to run that bit harder, to win that game, because that the prizes and everything there's huge benefits, winning a title or winning a League Cup or a Champions League or an FA Cup trophy. And I think we've seen for Arsenal this season that a lot of the players, they don't look like they give a damn, and they don't care. And that does come back to the manager. It does come back to Arsene Wenger, because it does look like from the sidelines he's lost it. there isn't really a drive or really any motivation to win a game, and that's why we've seen sort of a lot of teams come to the Emirates Stadium and look for a draw. This season we saw Swansea come to the Emirates, and Arsenal were dominating. They won up, but they bottled it. They lost 2-1, and that is a defining game in this season. And that has been a theme for Arsenal over the last few years when they've had these title challenges. They bottled it, and they don't really have any leaders, and their mentality is weak. It does sound like I'm sort of repeating a lot of pundits say, but at the end of the day, it is fact, and it is sort of the truth about Arsenal. And a lot of people might think, if Arsenal sack Wenger, where would they go from there? They might not even get top 4 next season. And to be honest, that is very likely whether Wenger stays or goes, because who are Arsenal actually going to get next season? Wenger had an opportunity to win the league this season, and if he retired or if he left at the end of the season, then it'd be fine. They won a title and they can rebuild next season, and there wouldn't be sort of these expectations to do better. Maybe to progress to the semi-final or the quarters of the Champions League. But Arsene Wenger, he hasn't won the league. He's not going to win a trophy this season. He did win the FA Cup last year. He won it the year before, which are two great achievements. But it's not good enough for a top club like Arsenal. They want to be doing better in the Champions League. They want to be doing better in the Premier League. And I think a change in management is needed. But their options are limited. Diego Simeone may stay at Atletico Madrid. Ancelotti is an option, but he might not be an option for Arsenal. They're looking for someone who's going to sort of build a winning mentality in these players, because as we see, they don't really have any real leaders, or they don't have a Patrick Vieira or Thierry Henry to sort of drive the team or get them out, or sort of a bad period or a bad form. When Henry came back to Arsenal, I think in 2014 or 2013, he scored 2 or 3 really important goals, and they scraped some victories. But that was for top 4. It wasn't to win the league. And I think, in my opinion, Arsenal needs to lead for Arsenal to sort of progress in the next few years. Because otherwise, next season they could be actually challenging to get even top 6. So yeah. Thanks for watching this video. I've really appreciated all the feedback and comments that have been coming on the previous 2 videos. On Sunday, I'll hopefully be doing a video about Fulham, and this will be about sort of the players I think that should stay and the players that should leave. I'll also be looking at maybe a few transfer targets that we should be going for in the summer. Yeah, and that's it. I do apologise once again that this video is really, really long. I don't know. Time just goes really quickly. That's the honest truth. But thank you very much, and if you enjoy, share it or just subscribe. Cheers.